Hi, this is Mario with MIA Micro-FLIGHT, and in this particular video I am going to be carving a face for a new radio control ultralight model. So I picked a chunk of clay. This is nothing more than air drying clay. My nephew uses this to make projects, when he comes here, and we keep a box of this at home, and I've kind of borrowed a little chunk of that, made a ball, and started making some impressions here for the basic shape of a face. Right now it doesn't look anything like a lady, but hopefully that is the goal, is to make it look like a woman, an attractive woman. So I picked up a magazine here, something that my wife is laying around, summer collection of I don't know, some clothing store, and I was looking through here and trying to find a model for a face. I want this particular model to have a very subtle tones on the face, somebody that you can readily associate with, and I picked up this brunette here, so I'm going to be shaping this face kind of similar to that, not exactly like it, because I don't want to steal her personality, but I certainly want to be inspired by this particular look. So that's the attempt in this particular goal. So I'll be doing the carving as we're filming here, so you can see what happens here with the clay model. Okay, so I've been doing a little more carving to the face, and I added a little more clay around the face to add the hair. The hair is a little bit rough, but it is certainly bringing out the face. This face is beginning to really take shape, and at this point here is when you have to really take your time and just work on those subtle, very subtle details, and start to refine the areas that need refinement. Once you get the basic shape of the face, the anatomy is correct. A lot of these things is, if you've never sculpted, if you've never approached this, I'm using a little bit of water here on my brush, which smooths out the rough edges here. What I was going to say is that if you have never sculpted, don't be afraid to dive right in. You don't know, sometimes you may have skills that you didn't know you had. You can't be afraid of these things. You can't say, I can't do that. Don't say that. Dive right in it and just give it a shot. It may surprise you. You may have skills that you never thought you did, but until you try, you'll never know. I highly recommend that especially if you like art, just dive right in. Take a brush, paint, and don't be afraid, to if you mess up, if you think you've messed up, there's, as far as I'm concerned, there's no right or wrong way of doing things. You just have to. How do you define art? If you look at Picasso, and look at some of some of these other artists that create art that many people don't understand. It's like what is that? You have to. It depends on the eye of the beholder. Beauty. People say it's in the eye of the beholder, and if it's if you find enjoyment. The way I look at these things is if you find enjoyment in doing something and you give it a shot, give it a try, go with it. And it may not be perfect the first time, but if you are really enjoying doing that, just keep doing it. These things sometimes take time, and don't be worried so much on how long it's going to take, or whether you're going to need to spend a lot of time to master this. If we were all thinking in those terms, nothing would get accomplished in this world. You almost have to, not think about it too much and just dive in and do it. I can honestly say that that's how I created MIA Micro-FLIGHT. Of course, I had a desire, to do this for a living, and just basically because I wanted to have a fun job that I could enjoy doing. I could share this with people, and something that would give me great satisfaction at the end of the day when everything was said and done. So, but if I would have had to think too much on that, I never would have started MIA Micro-FLIGHT. Nothing is really perfect when it's first done. There are many companies. I used to work for a major corporation in Chicago, and I can tell you there were a lot of mistakes there, and these are $1 million mistakes that were done. But you can't look at things that way. You take that, you run with the first. Look at software. They have so many versions, from version 1 to and up to version 10 sometimes, in many of these software packages. So, nothing's perfect at first, but if you are of the opinion that you have to wait until it's perfect, you'll never get anything accomplished. And the real world doesn't work that way. Like I said, many of these larger companies do not work that way. They sometimes they go with what's good enough, to get it out there, and once it's out there, you start tweaking, the product. I should also point out that many companies that are seasoned, that are, you know, already established have learned through those basic principles. You know, they perhaps they started with something that wasn't perfect, and they build up their expertise to the point where now, you know, many years later, now they have it down to a science, and so that every product they produce is near perfect. But as far as sculpting is concerned, you know, since we're doing this on this video, you know, you just have to, you know, just dive right in. And as you can see in this video, my video is still recording. I had to switch my memory cards because I ran out of the first one. You know, you can see how the model has taken place here. Okay, typically when you sculpt, when you do a face or sculpture, you know, there are some people that like to place the clay in a turnstile, so they can turn it and just look at the model, you know, from or their sculpture, you know, from all angles. For this particular one, I didn't do that. I mean, because I'm not carving a full face. As you can see, you know, this is just the top section, and everything is tapered towards the bottom because we will be molding, vacuum forming out of this face, out of this mold actually, or this sculpture. We will be making a master mold. So getting back to this model here, I'm continuing to soften up the areas, the cheek area here. So the object is try to get it as precise as possible. Now notice how the brush helps in defining these areas here. I'm not using a hard tool, but I'm using the brush because it tends to have a little more flex into it. And you can see the eyebrow here, how much, you know, I'm not taking material out, but I'm just defining that a little bit better here. Let me give it a little more angle here so that eyebrow looks nice. Okay, I'm having to revert back to my model here, to my picture of this this woman, and I'm going to soften this area here because this has a little weird angle here, so I'm going to soften that out. See, and that typically blends, the eyebrows tend to blend with the face here, with the side face, and I'm going to give it a little more angle here. And you can put put a couple little wrinkles there to give it the illusion, or to give it the effect that she's you know, she's a jolly face, you know, she's smiling, and so it helps to put a little bit of a couple little lines there. Okay, now you can see I created a little pocket for the eye here, and I'll show you how that's done. Typically, all you need is just you know, when you do clay models, all you need is just the right pocket in the eye. You don't need to shape the eye. You just need to create the right pocket. And I just need to find my screwdriver flat side here, and of course it's got a little too much water, so I'm going to lift some of that moisture, you know, with a paper towel. There we go. And I'm making these indentations, you know, just to create the eye socket there. As you can see, I hope my camera's still catching this. All right. And it's a little too moist right now. This is gotten a little too soft, so I want to wait for that water to dry a little bit better before working on the eye a little more. but you see how you can see the eye, very subtle here. I am trying to define the eyelids, and this is the purpose of these using this flat head screwdrivers to define the eyelid line. This one came out pretty good on the right side. There we go. There we go. This eye is a little too far out, so we'll shorten that out. That eye needs work, so I need to soften this out and try to match this eye. I'm happy with that eye on the right side. She almost looks like Jennifer Lawrence, you know, from or Lawrence is it from the side. You know, she's got some very nice cheekbones, that woman, the actress. So she almost looks kind of like that. I mean, if this comes out in the final look, and once it's painted similar to her, I'd be very happy. Even though that's not my goal, I'm not trying to replicate her, but I'm just observing what this looks as I'm carving this. Kind of I like that. She's got a little smirk there that I'm trying to keep. And of course this needs to be softened out a little more. This needs to be gently done so that you end up with a nice subtle drying my brush to pick up some of that water. Okay, now the lips don't protrude. You know, the lips are part of the face. They gently form, you know, define this area here, but it's not something that sticks out unless the person has, you know, really big lips. But you know, I'm trying to remain, or trying to give this sculpture very subtle lips, some very attractive lips, and this is going to take a little work here. I mean, this woman does have some beautiful lips. I mean, they're very full. She's not showing any teeth. She's got a very subtle smile, and it's almost a very perfect lips there, or what some people would consider perfect lips. I do like those lips on a woman. You know, a woman I feel that should have very sultry lips. I don't like women that have very thin lips. You know, and as I was saying before, it's not, you know, I personally believe that lips and eyes make the face. It's like having, you know, a set of mag wheels on a car. I mean, if you look at a car, maybe this is not the right comparison, but it's the best one I can come up with right now. You know, if you have some very nice, sultry and full lips, you know, that really defines your face. I mean, two of the things that we look at when we look at a face, on a person's face, is the eyes. You know, the eyes are what makes the face. You can really make a very honest or very sneaky, you know, very evil-looking face through the shape of the eyes, and of course the mouth adds to that effect, because the mouth is almost a supporting feature for the eyes. So whatever the eyes is telling you, you know, if the mouth is not smiling, you know, then you know that person's not that friendly. You know, if the face is frowning, or if the face is sad, you know, the smile is also not going to be there, and it's going to reflect. So, I mean, I want this face to represent a very subtle, honest, and you know, I want it to have the effect that she's enjoying being where she is going to be. In this particular case, she's going to be in the model. She's going to be the pilot that's going to be flying the MIA Micro-FLIGHT La Belle, ultralight. So she needs to represent that effect. And of course, this is also not only for myself, but it's also for the customer that's going to be purchasing this. You know, I want the customer to be. I want to give the customer that type of product. You know, so he can be proud to fly it, display it, whatever, when he purchases the complete product from us. So as you can see, I'm working on the mouth gently, slowly, making slight adjustments on the amount of clay that's presently on around the lips. And as you can see, you know, the lips are beginning to look a little bit fuller. That eye is very nice. I like that eye. She's got a very dreamy eye, or dreamy eyes. And if you work gently, you know, take your time, you know, you're not going to mess up here. Just trust your own, you know, your own judgment on these things. Sometimes, you know, you have to go with what looks good to you. Hopefully you have a good eye, you know, because there are people that think they're great singers and really they're not. Unfortunately, they can't hear themselves, and they need somebody else, you know, to tell them that they're good or not. But you know, if people have commented on your work before, you know, trust what they have commented. Sometimes, you know, if they're honest people, they're going to tell you. You know, and you know, it's better to have people that don't know you comment on your work versus your family, because your family is always going to be supported no matter what, especially, you know, if they love you. So it's always good to get a second opinion, or first opinion, first of all, from somebody that doesn't know you, and somebody hopefully that also has an eye for artistic detail. You know, so it's so if you've gotten comments of that type, you know, then you know, you can at least rely on that, you know, to give you a little more reassurance that you're on the right track. And there we go. Need to remove a little bit of this cheek, blend it in here. So it's a little subtle because it's a little rough, and those rough areas will show up in the mold. So there you go. Okay, so basically this is the close to end result of the face that I've been sculpting from air drying clay, and right next to it is the model that I selected from a magazine. It's not exactly like the model, but it certainly was inspired by such. I need to go over the face and do some fine-tuning around the eyes, the nose, the mouth. Basically, you know, we got most of it. It's been cleaned up, and you know, it's got the right proportions. And as I was saying earlier in my video, you know, you just can't get the actual effect until the face has been painted. Once we get a mold made and we cast some resin parts and do some vacuum forming, you know, we can start putting some color into it, and it should bring up the
the details, and it'll look a little bit different than what you see here. But you know, this is close to finish. Maybe a couple more hours in fine-tuning this. I have to work a little more on the hair. Right now the hair is just a quick pieces that I been adding on and off here, so I have to work a little more on that. So anyway, stay tuned, and I will post some more videos on this, and you can see the end result once everything is done. This is Mario with MIA Micro-FLIGHT. Thanks for watching.